the 2 bars.
Those are the 2 bars that don't have the
And
cheat
these-
sheets on the. Should have the cheats on the answers.
These are older ones, right?
Yep.
I have figured out those ones. Okay. Those are not written down, and they're upside down.
Makes more sense.
So I'll have the singles of each of that somewhere in there. I kind of accidentally mixed them up. When I text you and I was like, hey, can we video chat? And I was going to go over those, and then I dropped them, so they're all out of order.
That's okay. That looks like 1 bar.
Yeah, so I took each bar and made them singles, and then I put them together and made them doubles as well.
That's cool. Poor ears. Why are you
Volume
doing this?
down, dude. You don't have hearing protection on, and neither do you. Your swinging should not be above your ear.
What?
You're swinging above your head. Good lesson, please.
Okay. So before your boredom tears you up, let's get into the.
So he has the printed page that has everything together.
Okay. I've also got the book right here.
Oh.
So that'll do it. I believe we were on this page.
Not that one. We were on.
Yeah. I know we were on this one because I'm looking ahead to see, and I don't think we started these yet. So let's do some of this. So tell you what, before you really get going on it, how about you can do them in any order. You just gotta tell me which one. So you can do like 8 and then do 8. You can do 5 and then do 5. You can jump around. If you want to just go in order, you can. But I figure it might make it a little bit more fun to popcorn it. Yeah. All right. Go ahead. You can pick any order you want.
8.
ba do ba. Okay, so I wasn't sure because it's been a while. So we can take these one at a time
Yes.
instead of trying to loop them all together. Okay, so I was thinking that you had these down already,
No.
but if that's not the case, then that's all right. So let's start with number 4 and work our way down. Let's make sure that we can get it right a couple times in a row before we move on to the next one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, can you sing number 4 to me?
Bop, boom, doo, doo, bop, bop.
Yep. Couple more. The only thing to be careful, make sure that lands right on 2, not the end of 1. It's gotta land on 2. Dooba dooba da boom. Rather than dooba dooba. Not ending. There you go. 2 more. So, I won't get on you too much because you're trying to read stuff that's difficult, but you are slamming. You're playing like a rock player. Okay? So if you can try to control it a little bit, but the reading is more important than your dynamics right now.
Yes.
But don't use that as an excuse to go overboard.
I'm focusing fully on the dynamics
Okay.
right now.
All right. Number 5. Can you sing it for me?
I got it.
Can I heard you whispering it. Can you sing it for me?
Do do ba do ba ba ba.
Make sure we don't wait too long here. Now it's on the upbeat, right? This one was on 2. This one's on the end of 1. There you go. So, hold on. Okay. So, first off, if you get frustrated, that's okay. Don't bam, because then that's just hurting all of our ears when you're frustrated, okay? It's all right to kind of, and then do it again, fine. But don't slam on it, okay? Also, if you're trying to catch figures, fine. This is the easiest figure. It's just bop, bop. And I'm seeing whap, whap. I'm seeing these huge hits. They don't need to be that big. Do, ba, do, ba, do, bark, crash, bop, bop. Little bops. Okay? If your crashes are a little bit loud, okay, fine. You're focusing on reading. But during the easy parts, there's no reason to be slamming that hard, All right, can we try number 5 again?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, that's way nicer. Good. Number 6. Can you sing it for me?
Not yet. I'm still working on it.
This one's cool.
I got it. Doobity ba roomba, a roomba, a doobity ba.
So this is another time to Roomba again. And most of the time when you see this pattern, this is almost always rough bark bark. Rough bark bark. So no, look.
It's all separated though.
1, 2, 3, 4. Rough bark bark, ba doo ba, crash, doo ba doo ba.
Or doobity ba roomba.
Okay. Then it needs to bark here though, because that's not enough space for Roomba Roomba. You don't have enough room. It's too busy. Crash, dooba dooba.
Or
That one didn't really work. So that's.
I
Yeah.
played this
So I'm
before.
trying to help you, but when I give you one, you say or this, and then you just go for something else. Right? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull it back a little bit, and we're gonna talk about making decisions, right? Because right now, the hardest part is just looking at a figure and deciding what it is that you need to do. You have the coordination to play all of these things, right? No big deal. So all that means is we have to go back, we have to look, and we have to decide what it is that we're playing and why. Okay? So this is the easy one, right? This is going all the way back. No problem, right? So how many different choices do we have, really? List a couple of them for me.
Dooba-dooba.
Okay.
Ba-dooba.
Well, we don't have to do compound ones. Let's just single choices. Because dooba dooba ba dooba is really just two dooba doobas mashed together. Right? So it's a compound one. You're taking two and putting them together.
Ruff, bark, bark, Roomba.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah. That is kind of about it, huh? So really, it's not that many choices. It's just then how we articulate that. So Roomba could be the same as rough bark. What's the difference between Roomba and rough bark?
Sound.
It's duration. How long you want the note to ring for. If it's a long note, you want Roomba because it rings. Roomba. If that's a short note, then you rough bark. But that's the same rhythm, is it not? It's the same thing. So, in other words, when we move to rough bark bark, what if I do this? Now what is it?
Ruff, bark.
Yeah, it's just either a rough bark or a Roomba, right? So rough bark bark isn't even
Pay
really,
attention.
it's not even really a separate choice. You could say that it's a compound because you're adding an extra. So, what I mean by that is that this just does not really work as a stick holder.
What is it, a cup?
It's actually a cup holder. The one that holds the sticks, I have that in my gig bag. So really you have kind of one of two choices. It's really either you start on a downbeat and end on an upbeat, or your first accent is either on a downbeat or it's on an upbeat. That's really it when it comes down to it, right? So it's two choices. It's 50-50, right? There's a couple other things, but those are hardly worth mentioning. Things like this. They're just quarter notes. Yeah, you could play quarter notes all day. That's no big deal, right? It's these other complicated figures that are tougher. So all we're doing is we're taking kind of some compound things and putting them together. So let's think of it this way. If it starts on a downbeat, I want you to dooba dooba. If the first accent is on an upbeat, it's going to be rough bark or Roomba kind of thing, right? Sure. So we'll add an extra bark, fine. But so where does this start? Downbeat or upbeat?
Down.
Downbeat. So this is
Dooba-dooba.
good. Downbeat or upbeat?
Downbeat.
So
Dooba-dooba.
yep.
Downbeat. Dooba. Upbeat. Bark.
Oh yeah. See, it's an upbeat because that's your first accented note. That's a setup note. A rough bark bark, right? Because that's the upbeat is the important note. Okay. What about here?
Up.
Upbeat. Mm-hmm.
Down. Dooba-dooba.
Mm-hmm.
Down. Dooba-dooba.
See, when you put it that way, it doesn't seem so tough to choose, huh?
Up. Ruff, bark, bark.
Mm-hmm.
Up. Ruff, bark, bark.
Uh-huh.
Up. Roomba.
Yeah.
Down. Dooba-dooba.
Yeah. Ignore that first part.
Up,
This one's a little bit weird because it's only an upbeat at the end, which technically means you could do either or, right? Could you do Roomba here?
We'd have to.
You could. You could Roomba here. Why might we do Dooba Dooba instead? Because both work,
Yeah,
right?
but Roomba.
Yeah. Yeah. You would do Dooba Dooba because otherwise there's too much dead space in here.
But
Bop, boom, ding. Roomba. You've got a whole... So beat 3, you don't do anything if you choose Roomba. Right? So you could bop, boom, boom, Roomba. If you wanted to fill it with bass drums, you could. But you can also fill it with a dooba-dooba, right? Bop, boom, dooba-dooba. It fills the space nicely. So that's why we choose that one. Okay? So all of these, what I want you to think of is there's a gut reaction. Okay? Is it a downbeat or is it an upbeat? The first important note. Is the first important note a downbeat or an upbeat? It's the first thing you should think. Which one of those two? Once you've identified that, because sometimes it might be both. In the case of this one, it's both. Both could work. Then that's when we start to get into like, well, which one is better?
Which one fits that place better?
Yeah, which one fits that spot better? And then we start to think about how do I want to dynamically do this? Because if you had do-ba-do-ba-ba-do-ba, that sounds a little bit weird, right?
Or
It gets bigger over time. Yeah. Do-ba-do-ba-ba-do-ba. You get bigger over time, and you start doing things that make it so that you're not just correct, but now it starts to sound really good, right? Because I could play all of these like an exercise, and they won't sound great, but they'll be correct. But then you can start to do things that are going to make them sound good, right? So, what about this? Both is also an answer, by the way. So it could be both.
I'm gonna say.
What would you choose here and why?
Or I'd say downbeat. Dooba-dooba.
Okay, I agree with that choice. Why?
Crash.
Because of the space, right? Because there's a bunch of space in front of it, and you want to fill that space. Okay? What about here?
Up, dooba-dooba.
You mean down?
Or down, yes, down.
Yeah. Okay.
Down, dooba-dooba.
Yeah.
D-D.
This is also one that both works, but you have beat 3 is empty. So, dooba-dooba sounds nice. Okay? So, when we think of it that way, the compound ones don't feel so bad because you already kind of have an idea. So, that's this. What about this? Important note is, first note is a downbeat or an upbeat? Or the first important note?
Yeah.
That's the first important note?
Or no, the next, that's
That one is. So that's an upbeat, right?
That's bark, bark.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So say you can this is. Yeah. And then these are just both on downbeats. So you just hit. You just hit on downbeats. That's not anything that you have to think too much about, right? Same with this over here. Those are just downbeats. Bop, bop. Or you could go boom, bop. So my thought is when you have a bunch of them in a row, so I think there are some later that will do things like that. Yeah, something like this. A room bop, 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 dooba doo bop. A room bop, 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 doo, rough bark, bark. Rough bark crash, I suppose. But you see how that works? There's a bunch of these in a row. So when you have a bunch of downbeats like that in a row, why not just do kick snare? A Roomba, kick, snare, rough bark, crash. Yeah? So when there's a bunch of them in a row, you can just kind of turn it into a 2-beat. No big deal. Easy peasy. Make things easier on yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those aren't ones that we need to worry about too much. Most of what we need to worry about is the first important note. That's one of my favorite ones. I like that one a lot.
Pretty easy though.
Well, good. Yeah, that one's cool. I like that one a lot.
I get caught over here.
Mm.
Okay.
So, that in mind, what is this? Downbeat or upbeat? Upbeat. So, long note or short note? Long. So, upbeat. Yeah. See, does it feel like it's easier to make the decisions now? being able to understand that? Good. That's what I want. Because this stuff isn't too hard for you to play. You can play them. If I sat down and played it and said, here, do exactly this, you'd be able to do it. So what's the hard part? Making the choice, right? And we have to do stuff like that. I mean, think about spelling, right? If I wanted you to spell the word funny, you have to make a choice, right? What else makes a F sound? Like phone.
P-A.
Yeah, but if you spelled it P-H-U-N-N-Y, would that work?
That would be like punny, wouldn't it?
Kind of, but if you have the PH, it would be funny, wouldn't it? It's really weird when you think about it.
Funny. Funny looks funny.
Yeah, it does. So in a lot of things that we do, you still have to make choices, right? Both of those sounds still work, you know? So that's what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to minimize the amount of choice, because technically your choices are infinite. You could do anything that works. There's a million different options that work. I'm trying to give you only like between 2 and 5, because that's easier than when I put a chart in front of you, because it's only a couple ideas, right? So with that in mind, let's take a look at this for a sec. I'm not going to make you sight read the whole thing right now. Don't worry about it. Okay? But watch. Hold on. Watch. Downbeat or upbeat?
Down.
Yeah, look, it's even right there. Dooba dooba, right? What about that?
Down.
That's a downbeat?
Or up.
Upbeat. So use what? It's a long note.
Roomba.
Roomba. Then what is this?
Down.
Dooba dooba. And then ba dooba. Right? Yeah. What about this?
Down. Dooba.
Yeah. Look at this. Is it a long note or a short note? Short note. So you bark it. Dooba doo bark. So everything has, you have dooba dooba and roomba. Then you've got dooba doo bark and rough bark, right? You've got the long version and you have the short version for each one. So watch this. Swap with me. This looks like it's super complicated,
And it's not.
but it's gonna be easier than you think. So let's start right here. Okay, I want you to watch. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. Is that not something that you could play?
I could easily play that.
Bingo! It was just about getting it into your head, not into your fingers. Your fingers already can do it. Being able to recognize this. Do ba do ba ba do ba ba do ba. That's all it is. It looks like a bunch of crazy notes that you've never seen before, but it's no big deal. Then what about here? It's another one. Do ba do ba. Those are quarter note triplets. Those are a little trickier, but then that's just a whole note. Da 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 da. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Set up. Do ba ba. Right? When it's short, I bark it. When it's long, I hold it.
I can already follow what you're playing on the sheet.
Yeah? I can try one-handed, but that'll be kind of tricky.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah. But up here, at least, you were following just fine, right?
Because it's dooba-dooba.
It was only once it got over here. But still, dooba-dooba, roomba, dooba-dooba, ba-dooba, dooba-dooba, ba-doo bark, ba-doo-ba, roomba, dooba-dooba, dooba-doo bark, dooba-doo bark, ba-doo bark, or crash. Right? And over here, dooba-dooba, ba-doo-ba. dooba dooba. It's everywhere, isn't it? What's that?
Dooba doo bark.
There's a rest after it. So what would this be? This is an upbeat with the accent. Rough bark. Rough bark. Ba-doo-ba. Ba-doo-ba. Rough bark. Ba-doo-ba. Ba-doo-ba. Rough bark. Ba-doo-ba. Ba-doo-ba. Rough bark. Ba-doo-ba. Ba-doo-ba. Bark.
Whoa.
Or even ba-doo-ba. Ba-doo-ba. Ba-doo bark. Right?
Cool.
Yeah.
It's just dooba dooba a lot.
Yep.
Dooba dooba.
So at first, it's like everything else, right? So people that are first learning how to play rock, how do they do it? Here we go. Right? They don't have a lot of choices. But then what happens once you start to get better at it? The more you know how to do, you can add more options. But what do we always start with? Teeny options. Because then you can prove to yourself that you can do it. Once you know how to do it, then you can start adding in all of your cooler stuff. Doesn't have to be super insane right off the bat, you know? Eventually you'll start to get to sections like this and you're like, oh, I could do 3-5-4, 5-4-3 right here. Right? And you can do that anywhere you want. Remember, it doesn't always have to be here. Right? You can put it anywhere you want. And it starts to sound cool when you start to do stuff like that. Yeah.
That's fast.
Well, that's because I've done it a million billion times. Okay? So, now that you've seen this is the hard stuff, to then go back to this isn't so bad. Right?
Alright.
Here you go. So now that you understand a little bit more about making the choices, that way you feel like you can pick the right things that are actually going to help you get through it. Okay? So especially did you feel before like you had to guess sometimes? Yeah. That's the hardest thing, when you feel like you have to guess. And then you guess and I'm like, nope, that's not it. And you're like, well, why? Now you know why, right? Downbeat, go to dooba dooba.
No one's
Upbeat,
always right.
Roomba. That pretty much will work for just about anything. Okay? That's a high school chart. The kids at the high school are expected to play that. Pretty tough. But as soon as I broke it down for you, like I could play that easily, right? I think that was what you said. No big deal. So, tell you what, why don't we pivot a little bit then? Since we talked about this, let's do a listening portion, which is bad for the video, copyright stuff, but
It happens.
but I think it'll be important because you can hear what the band is doing and how the drums work.